What is it you're looking for in an ideal prospect? What are their concerns or their aspirations? And really, who are you great at servicing? What do we have market access to? We need to be honest with ourselves. I'm Stephen Harrington-Descoteaux, the diva of insurance, talking about why it's important to have an annual plan for your agency. And really, how do you create that agency business plan? What goes into a great annual plan, and what is it that we need to look at? So the first thing to remember is without a plan, we don't have accountability. Take a second and let that sink in. Without a plan, we can't have accountability. We don't know if we're hitting our benchmark. We don't know if we're proceeding, and hope is not a plan. So we really need to make sure that we are focusing on key areas. We want to look at first of all, the executive summary. It's the 1,000-foot view of your agency's business plan. It's the high-level items that are necessary to build a true solid foundation for your agency. It starts with things like your business name and details about the business. What is the address, website, other important information? We want to make sure that this is kind of the about you section. So start your business plan with business name and the business details. We then need to get down into the mission and vision of the agency. Besides profit, why did you embark on this journey? Just like we should be asking clients or prospects coming to the office, what has you shopping for insurance other than price? ... What has you wanting to run this business, or what do you want from this business other than profit? Why did you embark on this journey, and where do you envision it taking you? It needs to be more than just a couple of words. It should be a couple of statements. And then we really need to look at the vision of the agency. This should be keywords about what sets us apart from the competition. What is the agency passionate about? And how can we really help our team understand why we're doing what we're doing? And can they look at the mission and vision and understand the culture of the agency? Is it something we're proud to share with our clients, or is it more internal facing? That's up to you, but I think that we have to define some of that information. So whether it is internal or external, we really need to make sure, can we hold ourselves accountable to it? Is it timeless? And is it something that really makes sense for our agency? Every mission and value or vision is a little bit different, but we need to define it for the agency so we can hold ourselves accountable to it, and so our staff can hold us accountable to it as well. It's really the foundation of the agency. And then we should summarize our goals. We should really be looking at our ambitions and what those look like, and what are the major milestones we're reaching for. What's the next 1, 5, and 10 years look like? And how do they align with the mission and values of the agency? If there's a misalignment there, we're going to have to go back and really make sure that we are figuring that out. And how can we get those all to align? If they don't align, we cannot be successful with our goals or our mission and values. They all are tied together. We then need to go into an overview of our business. This is a closer look at where we've come from and where we're going. What are we great at? And can we summarize the agency to a stranger in an easy to understand way? We should start with the history of the agency, the struggles, victories, and milestones we've made along the way, and what changes has the agency undergone to get to where we are today? What kind of services are we offering? When we're speaking with people, we're going to be able to explain what we're great at. And a lot of times when I'm talking with agency owners, they love the term generals. Well, we're generals. Well, we kind of do a little bit of everything. If somebody calls us and we can make money off it, we're going to try to find a market to place it. And I think especially in this market that we're in right now, we have to really start defining what we're great at and where our team should be spending their time, energy, and effort. We need to stop and take the time to define this and identify areas that we also might not be so great at. We want to make sure that we're offering products that are a solution to somebody's problems and not just trying to fit them in anywhere and everywhere we can. We want to detail the key things that we're successful with and really highlight that to the team of this is what we want to focus on. We then need to look at target market. We want to paint a vivid picture of our ideal client. What do they eat? What do they drink? Where do they go? What are their hobbies? Get down deep into what our target market is. What does the perfect business look like? What is the perfect prospect? If we can't explain it to our team, we can't expect them to understand what it is we're looking for or why. What is it you're looking for in an ideal prospect? What are their concerns or their aspirations? And really, who are you great at servicing? What do we have market access for? We need to be honest with ourselves. We then go into the SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis is a list of internal and external forces that shape our agency's destiny. The S is for strengths. Celebrate your victories. What sets you apart from the competitors? And where do you crush it? Where are you just flawlessly amazing? Then next is weaknesses. That's for the W. This is the transparent area where we identify areas we could improve to foster growth. We need to go back and review some of those products we just talked about that maybe we weren't so hot, or some of the markets that we don't fulfill the need for. What could we do to make it better? And what are our vulnerabilities? Again, during this whole process, we have to be very honest with ourselves. The O is for opportunities. New potential avenues for expansion or areas underserved by competitors. I want you to stop and take some time. I want you to review your competition and see what they don't do. And is it an area you'd be great at? Or are you both doing the same thing? Might need to look at some other opportunities. Or do you have a custom product? Do you have a niche that nobody else is really servicing? Let's look at some of those opportunities available to you. And next is threat. The P in SWOT is for threats. This is our external challenges. This could be market volatility or policy changes. It could require a proactive strategy. I want us to all think hard market or lack of market, but we can't let it define us. And relying on market is not necessarily a solid business plan. We need to make sure that we're looking at the whole picture and really looking at some of the threats. If all of our stuff is in one place and that is suddenly no longer available, how are we still going to be successful? How are we still going to provide for our team? And how are we going to still put food on the table? Also be looking at what your competition is great at that might be a threat. Are they doing the same thing you do? You need to look at some of those things. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We then need to look at our marketing and sales strategies. How will we attract and retain clients? We have to have a clearly defined company culture, and that should almost speak for itself. We shouldn't have to go and get everybody on board to a culture if it's already ingrained in the agency. If we're changing a culture or working on some new things, that could take some time, but we have to be able to identify it, and we need to take off the Insta filter. We need to remove the sweet dream filter, the thing that makes it look so pretty. And we need to acknowledge the day-to-day of the agency life. We need to look at our marketing objections. We need to create some clear goals, such as enhancing our brand awareness or boosting client engagement. If we don't have a clear objection, we don't know what successful marketing looks like. And then we need to look at our marketing strategy. How can we make those marketing objectives happen? Tactical methods like contact marketing, partnerships, or community events. And how are we tracking that in our agency? I love when I go to an agency and they're like, it was a web lead. What's a web lead? Did it come from Google? What part of Google? Did it come from a targeted ad? Did it come from something else? We need to know where our things are coming from. And then we need to look at the sales forecast. We need to pull past data and look at marketing trends to be able to estimate our growth trajectory. Are we clearly tracking lead sources and closing ratios? If not, we have to create a plan to get this on track. And this is where I see lots of agencies spending money in lots of places that's not necessarily the best use of their money because they can't track it or see a return on investment. They get the shiny object syndrome and they're running out after whatever's promising them great leads or great money or instant success, and they're not getting it, but they don't understand it because they're not tracking it. So we need to get on track with our team and teaching them how to track things properly in the system. We also have to look at a financial plan as our next step. We need to decide what financial success looks like for the agency. We need to review best practices. We need to see what other people are doing and what is the standard for the industry. And then we need to set standards for spend categories, then review them monthly. We need to do this by budgeting. We need to pull the historical profit and loss reports by month, quarter, and year and compare them. We need to see how well our expenses are tracked and categorized. We might have to take some time to clean this up and recategorize something. If you haven't looked at this or you haven't sat down and had a clear picture in the past, it might take some time to clean this up, but it's extremely important that we do that. We want to make sure we're categorizing things correctly and we know where our money's being spent. We can't create a budget if we don't know what our expenses are anticipated to be. We need to then estimate our expected expenses from staffing costs and technology, upgrades, rent, anything we can think of. Detail every projected expense. We then want to go into the projected revenue. We want to combine our sales forecasting with pricing strategies. How much do you plan to earn? Look at your income from all sources, such as commissions, contingencies, agency fees, and other services you offer. Then review retention numbers versus rate increases. We have to plan 12 months out. We have to look at the next year. We have to look and see what our trends are. What is our average increases? What is our retention? And what are we expecting to sell? And that's how we're going to get our projected revenue. And then we look at our break-even point. At what point do we expect the cost to be covered? And do we start turning a profit? This should be exciting. Knowing where you need to make the money, you'll know if you are profitable. Some agencies want to heavily reinvest back into the agency, and that's great. But if we don't know what our estimated earnings are, what our break-even point is, we don't know what we have to reinvest in the agency. And we need a clear picture of what we should be doing. This is all part of the financial health of the agency. Then we look at our operational plan. This is your processes, procedures, and people. This is the mechanics of your agency's daily operation. We need to look at agency staffing. Clarity is kind. We need to set performance indicators for each role, as well as have expectations for what they're responsible for. We need to review our current leadership structure, job descriptions, reporting chains, and departmental workflows. We're going to fail without clearly defined expectations. We have to act on facts, not feelings, but we need to set clear expectations to be able to manage in that way. We can't just say, oh, well, I feel like they're doing a really good job. And then when we look at the numbers, we're losing our asset. We then need to also look at client management. We need to define a client journey. From the time we have the first contact with the prospect all the way through their policy renewal, we need to know what happens at each step of the client journey. What's going to happen at each touch point? Are there different levels of service based on account size or premium? If so, we need to define that and train our team into what the expectation is. We need to set standards for the team so that we can hold them accountable to these standards. And then we as leaders in the agency need to follow what we're telling our team. It can't be like, well, but Brad's my best friend, so we're going to go ahead and make an exception and break all the rules for him. No. If we're going to hold our team accountable to it, we need to be accountable to it as well. We then need to look at our partnerships with our suppliers and agency partners or carrier partners, and we need to outline our key collaborators and what does the engagement with each of them look like. Do we need to consolidate markets or should we try to find new ones? What are the partnerships you can't live without, and how are you going to keep those relationships alive? We need to spend time strategically with our carrier and vendor partners to make sure that those relationships are staying fresh and we're at the top of their mind when opportunities arise. We then can go into our human resource plan. Your team is your biggest cost in most cases, but they're also your most valuable asset. Take a step back. Open your eyes and open your ears. Look at each person with a fresh perspective. Look at the facts, not the feelings, and how are you going to nurture and grow your team? We need to be looking at your team's expertise, roles, and unique strengths. And is this defined in the culture of the agency? Do our job descriptions align with the strengths that our agents have or that our staff have? We also need to look at recruitment. What is your current hiring process? You might need to pull the binder that's holding your desk up or the one that's stuck in the back of a drawer and look at what that process looked like. We need to list projected hiring dates and desired qualifications, and we need to make sure that we have a solid recruiting process in place. We can't just let somebody leave and then hope and pray within 2 weeks we find somebody else that checks all the boxes, is familiar with every carrier we have and already knows our system. It doesn't happen. That is a unicorn hire that is very, very rare. So we need to have a solid plan in place for recruiting and retaining talent. We then need to look at training and development. And what does your onboarding process look like? Does it have knowledge checkpoints? Is there check-ins along the way to make sure that you're checking in and understanding what they're learning and how they're learning it? What is the agency also doing for ongoing education to keep our team at the forefront of knowledge? We need to make sure that we have strong, smart agents because this is priceless. We want to invest in our team as they are our biggest asset. We then need to look at risk management. We can't forget that. After all, we're talking about insurance. We need to prepare for the uncertainty. What is it we need to do to be unstoppable? We need to identify possible areas of risk that we can better manage. It could be data breaches or natural disasters. It could be economic downturns or the loss of market access. We need to list all of the potential risks, and then we need to come up with strategies. We need to have robust countermeasures to ensure business continuity, clear social media policies, or an emergency response plan. How are we going to weather the storm? How are we going to get through things like a data breach, natural disaster, economic downturn, etc.? We need a clear plan or a strategy that we can grab in the moment of need and try to follow along with. Then we look at milestones and timelines. What isn't measured doesn't get achieved. This is your annual goals broken down. What does success look like, and when is it time to reset those expectations? We need to streamline our ambitions into actionable quarterly targets. Define what steps are needed to complete each part of the plan and what finished looks like. A car with no engine is still a car, so remember, those small details matter. Set some quarterly goals, and then we look at process tracking. How can we implement regular checks, ensuring we're on track or understanding if pivots are needed? Maybe even having a bi-weekly meeting with a stakeholder to review progress and roadblocks. Or if you're solo YOLO, get an accountability partner, somebody else that's in the same boat as you, so you can hold each other accountable. We then finally, as an ending, need to do a conclusion and figure out our next step. What is the immediate to-dos? What are our next steps? We need to recap and prioritize. We need to summarize to reinforce the essence of our plan, reminding the stakeholders of the agency's importance. We need to be clear in our expectation to each other and to our team. And then we need to define immediate actions, create a checklist of what's urgent and essential, and assign those responsibilities and deadlines to key players and follow up to track it. So we need to make sure that this is more than just a document. This is going to be a declaration of our intent, ambition, and foresight. As we go through the year, we need to be checking on this document. We need to be recalibrating it when necessary. And with the right mindset and our favorite beverage in hand, you'll be poised to craft a phenomenal strategy. So I want you to be successful. If you need help, reach out. We're here for you. We have all the tools necessary. We do this with agents all the time. And you can find us online at agencyperformancepartners.com.